which are also allowing us to move to the new era. I call it a space era. We are moving to a new era where everything is going to be digital, and the data will be the key currency for running your life. Apart from that, the wellness will become the new mantra, and everybody is now focused that how to make his life wellness, live his life properly, and how to be able to live in community which believes in wellness. I think the world is going to get divided into two parts. One is the communities which will focus on wellness, and the other is the communities which will continue to live the old way of living. I think we here are the part which will be the new part of the world. So this new world which is opening to us will be led by women. Why women? Is that because in this space world, the data world, the woman has a tremendous advantage over others, and whatever disadvantage they had has no longer there, because they can work from home, they can work from wherever they are. So they had in the past some disadvantage, being a mother or being a wife or being a looking after the house. That disadvantage has gone off. Also, the women are one who has been always in wellness. Every study shows that whether you go to yoga camps, meditation camp, food, people who are eating healthy food, 80% is led by women. So women are going to be the new leaders of the world. We have to see who are the women who are ready to take this great step forward to become global leaders. We know we have a lot of regional leaders, national leaders, but I think what we are looking is global leaders. Who are of you have the courage and the stamina to go and become global leaders? I think that's the need of the hour. And I hope that from all parts of the world, these new women, which are global leaders, will emerge. They will change the world for better, and not only change the world, they lead the world with the new rules, which will be set by the woman based on wellness and also based on a home, working, which is there from home. So in this new world, 2020 onwards, a new era has already dawned. People who have never been using space are using it through this Zoom. We all are changing our lives, and I am with you for this great journey. Thank you very much. I would give it back to Priyanka. Please take it forward.
Thank you so much, Dr. M. I'd like to go ahead and introduce Preeti Malhotra, Founder Director at Global Citizen Forum, also Chairman of Smart Bharat Group. Preeti, thank you so much for curating a great event, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you and all of your speakers.
Thank you, Priyanka. I too warmly welcome all esteemed participants, our speakers, friends, and supporters from across the globe. Today, we have participation from all over, from USA, Mexico, UK, Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, and India. Please take this as a personal acknowledgement and thank you for joining us today for this webinar on Global Women Spearheading Change. Thank you, Dr. M, for setting the tone. In fact, Dr. M is someone who has always walked the talk when it comes to change. Since the last several years, I have seen him as a man who has always thought beyond all kinds of boundaries, and of course, always beyond gender. Friends, the human race is 50% female, so it's imperative that the start of a new, more equitable world begins with all of us committing to and going beyond gender. Today, we stand on the curve of an exponential future, and women need to drive this change. Not too long back, women in leadership was an extremely, though even then the world had strong example. It was an anomaly actually, and though even then the world had strong examples of women who broke the glass ceiling quite literally, like Margaret Thatcher, Indira Gandhi, for example. We need to build a world where if someone says the word leader, the first image that pops into your mind is not that of a man. And for this, women need to be really aggressive in taking leadership positions. And it is our endeavor at GCF WIN to bring women thinkers, entrepreneurs, and leaders to the forefront to share their stories and inspire others. As you've heard, GCF has partnered with the Women International Networking to reach out to women leaders across the globe. We have also partnered with the Indian Federation of United Nations Associations, IFUNA, which is the Indian outfit of IFUNA, whose mission is to create global citizens for a stronger UN. Mr. Suresh Srivastava, my co-host, is the Secretary General of IFUNA and the former Vice Chairman of IFUNA. IFUNA is an NGO that promotes the work of the United Nations in India and is also having a special consultative status of ECOSOC with UN. We are happy to have Ifuna join hands with us. I will now invite the speakers, starting with Susan Stotberg. Susan is the governance advisor to Atlantic Street Capital and was the chair and co-founder of the Women Corporate Directors Foundation. She has worked with US Vice President and the US Secretary of State in the past and is an internationally acclaimed speaker and author. Susan, besides hearing your thoughts, I think we would also want to know whether you see women board members sparking changed attitudes on the boards on which they are and within the companies now. And while you see more women on boards, by when do you feel that we'll have complete gender parity across boards? Over to Susan. Susan, please unmute yourself.
I think I just did. Good day and good evening. Thank you for inviting me to be with you all today. I've certainly learned so much from you all over the years. WCD was started around my dining room table in New York City about 20 years ago to enable women directors to connect with each other, to share board opportunities, to discuss how to act in the boardroom with dealing with everything from how to raise issues to what do you do when the CEO tries to put his hand on your knee. As one of our members moved to Boston and then to Chicago, we started launching across the United States. And then about 12 years ago, we launched in London. So we grew WCD to 80 chapters around the world with 2,500 members when I transitioned it over to KPMG, which is now running it today. What I'd like to do is just share a few highlights over those years and some lessons learned. First of all, it was a great honor and a thrill to launch the chapters in India, to launch the onboard boot camps there, and to learn so much from your leadership on how to make things happen. It's also very exciting launching our first chapter in Latin America, which was in Peru, and then having our first institute in the Americas in Chile. Prime Minister Bachelet came, and when the stock exchange knows the prime minister was coming, the head of the stock exchange called and said, "We'd like you to ring the bell and open the stock exchange." And I said, "We can't do that." He said, "Why can't you do that?" I said, "Because you have 11 white men on the board of the stock exchange in Chile. We're not going to go ring the bell if you're not going to have a woman on the board." Oh, he said. So they called back a couple of days later and said, "We don't know if we can get a woman on the board in the next 2 weeks when you get here, but we promise to do it within a month. Will you ring the bell?" I said, "Of course we'll ring the bell." Within a month, they had a woman on the board of the stock exchange. So it's been sort of fun trying to see how you make these differences around the world. It's exciting launching chapters in Shanghai during a World's Fair, holding an Asian Institute in Hong Kong where CEO Carrie Lam keynoted. In Kenya, we held a board training session on a camp on the Serengeti. In Mongolia, we launched a chapter in tent, followed by a trip to deserted plains for horse races. Countries and cities have tried various ways around the world to try to get women onto boards. In Malaysia, instead of installing quotas, government mandated 30% targets for women on boards in large businesses and in government. The targets have not all been achieved, but it's been one way of trying to get people on boards. In France, they use quotas. And in the year between the time when the lower house and the Senate passed the quotas, so many CEOs got nervous the best women would be taken, that they doubled the number of women on boards in just 1 year. One company, at Publicis, the women came on board. They noticed there's no strategic planning committee. They not only created it, but it put a woman as head of the committee, and the committee was populated by women. So why are women interested in going on boards around the world? I think women want leadership opportunities. They want respect. Salary is nice. There's intellectual stimulation, increased contacts, and information skill sets they can bring back to their companies and make a difference for those companies and for the world. The role of WCD is to help women achieve their dreams and share their competence. And now I've moved on to being the first woman partner at an American private equity firm who was hired to try to place women on the boards of all of our companies, to bring women as officers of our companies, and to create advisory boards. You know, the best investors are looking for the best returns. And this means having the best people at the top of the house, making sure that portfolio boards are drawing from the broadest talent pool, what will move the needle in the private equity space. So at Atlantic Street Capital, we made a commitment to ensure that women are considered for every CEO, board, and C-suite roles. But we give counseling to women to give them a chance to move up in their careers. We ensure women's leadership roles. We brought in outside women to create an advisory board to see how we can best get more women involved. We've been able to do is get 8 of our 20 managing directors are now women, the highest of any private equity firm. We've been able to bring women onto the boards of 3 companies, and we have 3 others we're actively considering for. So we're trying to make progress. I think the key thing you have to look for in any company that you invest in is the quality of board discussions and debate, the ability of those directors to ask tough questions of managers, and diversity of thought and experience. So how do we help women build and track business and jobs to their countries around the world? I'd like to share a Mexican proverb. They tried to bury us. They didn't realize we were seeds. The world has those that follow and those that lead, sometimes in the wrong direction. Organizations like WCD and all the women, great organizations here today, try to lead in the right direction, the right leaders to create a better future. We understand the importance of bringing people together, not tearing them apart. We understand the importance of combining dedication with toughness, the need for adventure and determination. WC members like to work hard at work worth doing. A great director at the right place at the appropriate time to save a company that's going through disruption. Although there have been increasing female economic successes, such as the shrinking of income gaps between men and women, although this pandemic is throwing it back the other direction, female talent, power, and opportunity are still underutilized globally. There's still too few women who are corporate and private company directors, much less CEOs. We need more women directors who are both constructive and who help others succeed. Leaders who build trust, who reframe debates and envision new strategies. The most complex issues confronting us now demand a fresh perspective, the ability to collaborate well with other directors who might see the same problem from very different. As Albert Einstein counseled, the world is not dangerous because of those who do harm, because of those who look at it without doing anything. Women always get involved. We need to optimistically open up doors and take new risks on new leaders. No pessimist ever discovered the secret of the stars or sailed to an uncharted land. If no one ever took risks, Michelangelo would have painted the Sistine floor. Collaborating repeatedly with people you've known a long time speeds communication based on shared trust, understanding of how they approach problems. However, directors who are too familiar with each other don't take on new ideas. Newcomers bring fresh concepts and fresh skills. For example, when Rodgers and Hammerstein wrote musicals, they kept changing the people who were part of their teams. The famous duo understood each other's approach. They were able to communicate very efficiently with each other as they wrote their songs. But they also brought in newcomers to bring fresh ideas that provoked creativity and innovation. The political, social, and cultural winds are making a difference. Quotas as well as targets are pushing companies to bring more women into the boardrooms, and institutional investors are trying to make a difference too. New funds are zeroing in on women's issues. Companies need women now, particularly to have the better mindset to survive the next wave of technological innovation. All of us need to collaborate to accelerate. Continue to move to create boards as they should be. Multi-gender, multi-skilled, multinational, multi-ethnic, and multi-generational. That's will make a difference around the boardroom table, in the world, and for the world. You know, Robert Hall advises in the book, The Land of Strangers, relationships are the most valuable and value-creating resource of any society. They're the lifelines to survive, grow, and thrive. That's why meetings like this today are so important, building relationships. Networks create impact, power change, and bring to life the dreams we all share. All of us today are bridge builders, connecting across boundary lines with heart, spirit, and commitment. Diversity isn't just a social issue. It should be aligned with inclusion to break down silos. Diversity is an opportunity. Momentum can build power. As we know, if you're the only woman in the room, it doesn't mean you're better. It means something is wrong. Or as Senator Elizabeth Warren likes to say, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu. Women understand it's the quality of connections in community, not just the volume of transactions that are important. Trust makes us stronger by connecting, positioning, and helping each of us to provide well-reasoned business leadership of the fragmented world. As Betty Ford quipped, Being ladylike doesn't require silence. Power shared is power magnified. Over 100 years ago, the suffragettes demanded deeds, not words. These women pioneers understood that great change requires the combination of the spirit of order and the spirit of audacity. The writer Carl Sandburg advised, if the law is on your side, pound on the law. If the facts are on your side, pound on the facts. If neither are on your side, pound on the table. We all need to pound on the table more for what we believe in. So much has been achieved, but so much more needs to be done. Things seem to be impossible, but they do get accomplished. Some of the things I think that in the board area that can help create change are women are beginning to take up a larger share of board members now, and they're bringing on more and more younger women, which is important. Firms are becoming less insistent on board hopefuls having CEO experience. They realize that running a division, being involved in cross-border transactions, being involved in HR is very important. New boards seem to be adding diversity to their ranks by expanding size. In other words, instead of waiting for a board seat to be open, they're adding an extra seat. Major asset managers can vote against boards of the companies that had failed to take steps to add women to their boards, and more are doing so. TIA Craft and others. We can also support private equity and PE firms that are putting the focus on diversity. More women are getting involved now in private equity, and that's very, very important. We need more courageous investors, such as Melinda Gates, who says VCs to overlook women and people of color are hurting themselves. They're missing valuable opportunities, leaving money on the table. So at Melinda Gates' investment company, Pivotal Ventures, she focuses on diversity, investment in startups by women, and acting as a limited partner in VC funds led by women. We need to advertise for directors on boards. Sure, people know that these seats are available. Some advocate that companies compensate CEOs on how well they improve diversity in the executive ranks, or penalize them for a lack of bringing more women onto the boards. And private companies, too, also need to be able to bring more women in to attract more talent. In closing, those magic words, because I know you have a great program today. Talented, successful businesswomen will not just bring their knowledge, but also their networks, their buyer's power, their funding power, and their expertise to help grow a business. And 1 woman is a travesty on a board, 2 is a conspiracy, and 3 is mainstream. Congratulations on all your work, and I hope we get more than 3 women on every board around the world. Thank you for your time today, and I don't know if we have questions or not.
Thank you. That was very impressive, Susan. Thank you very much. And I'll request the participants that if they have questions, please put them in the chat box. We haven't yet received any questions. So I'll move on. Thank you, Susan, especially for joining us today. Next up, we would like to focus on wellness. Wellness is an industry where women are playing a key role. In fact, even an analysis of COVID-19 responses across the globe has proven that women leaders have excelled at handling the pandemic. Also, there's been a conscious shift towards preventive, proactive healthcare with game-changing solutions and cutting-edge AI-led technologies. All these, I hope, will make the 100 years old the new 60. To learn more about this, we have lined up today a panel of highly learned wellness experts from across the globe. To begin with, I would like to invite Dr. Pamela Smith, who is speaking on personalized wellness and immunity. An anti-aging functional medicine specialist, Pamela Smith is an internationally known speaker and author on metabolic, anti-aging, and personalized medicine. She is a diplomat on the board of the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine and is also on the boards of several health organizations and universities in USA. Dr. Smith, we are all eager to learn how we can customize our individual wellness regimen to keep our bodies happy and healthy. Over to Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela, please unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for this opportunity this morning. I really do appreciate it. To continue on with the theme of the first speaker, when I applied to medical school, I was only asked one question. I was fortunate enough to be invited by 11 medical schools for an interview, and they all asked me the same question. How do you plan on being a doctor and raising children at the same time? The question wasn't, was I qualified? Was I smart enough? Was I kind enough? Did I have empathy for patients? The question was, how could I do this as a woman? When I went to medical school 45 years ago, there was only one other woman in my class in the United States. And everybody thought I would take up a seat in medical school that a male would have, and I wouldn't practice as long as a man because I would have children. I would like to report this morning, as of July the 1st, in my entire medical school class, I am the only person still practicing. So no, I did not take up a seat that a man could have had. Of course, the world is diverse. We want everyone to be able to participate. But now is the time for women of all color to take a seat at the table, to take a leading role. And I have been very fortunate to be able to direct medical education and to develop the fellowship at the Anti-Aging Academy, American Academy of Anti-Aging. I've also been very fortunate to direct the very first master's degree in the world in anti-aging and functional medicine at the Morsani College of Medicine at the University of South Florida. So I truly thank the American Academy of Anti-Aging Physicians for giving me this opportunity. And I thank the Morsani College of Medicine at the University of South Florida for again giving me this opportunity. I have been lucky enough in the last 1 year to literally speak on 4 different continents on the subject of wellness. Medicine is changing. It is going to be different. We now can look at the cause of the problem and not just treat symptoms. The science is here. So immunity is going to be a big subject for the next 5 or 10 years. How do you stay healthy? How do you build wellness? How do you have a healthy immune system? So this morning we're going to examine a few talks or a few subjects very briefly, and then this can be expanded upon. Number 1 is stress. Of course we're all stressed, but when you stay stressed, it compromises the immune system. We make a hormone entitled cortisol. Cortisol is our stress hormone. When we're stressed, it goes up. It's supposed to come right back down. If we stay stressed, the body doesn't make enough cortisol. You have to have cortisol to live. If you don't have it, you die in 7 days. And the interesting thing about this hormone cortisol is that it comes from pregnenolone. For those that are not familiar with pregnenolone, it is spelled Pregnenolone. Pregnenolone, pregnenolone. Again, it is your hormone of memory. From an anti-aging viewpoint, memory is key for wellness. If you stay stressed, then the body will take pregnenolone, which makes cortisol, and your body will get deplete in pregnenolone. You will have compromised memory and focus. It doesn't matter if you are 24, 54, or 84 years of age. So stress reduction techniques are very, very key. Prayer, meditation, Tai Chi, yoga, Qigong, exercise, massage, breathing techniques, acupuncture, they're all key to help people be healthy and stay healthy. We must manage stress. Another tip when it comes to the immune system and wellness is alcohol. Moderation is the key to health. Of course, most of us enjoy alcohol. I don't happen to drink, but that's not the point. The point is moderation is the key to health. So if you do drink alcohol, keep it to 1 or 2 drinks a day, particularly for women. Women do not metabolize alcohol as quickly as men. So for us, 1 drink a day is fine. When we go to the 2nd drink, medical trials have shown it increases our risk of breast cancer. So tip number 2, alcohol. Keep it in moderation. Tip number 3 for wellness and building the immune system, get enough sleep. Sleep is so, so important. You should go to bed before 11 or 11:30 p.m. and not arise before 5 a.m. If you arise too early, it changes your circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm is key to staying healthy. If it gets compromised, your immune system is compromised. So get enough sleep, 6.5 to 8 hours a night. Part of that is predicated on the hormone melatonin. Melatonin does decline with age, so some people need to supplement with melatonin. Fortunately, the science is here. We can measure melatonin and see how much you need if it is a hormone that should be supplemented. It is a saliva test. Too much melatonin lowers serotonin, the hormone that keeps you happy, which is a neurotransmitter. Melatonin is also used for the immune system. In fact, melatonin is so important for your immune system that we now use it to treat stage 4 breast cancer. So you have to have healthy melatonin to have an immune system that's healthy. Lack of sleep compromises your wellness and the immune system. What other things are really, really key? A healthy diet. And many of us talk about diet all the time. I'd like to focus on 2 things today. Number 1, decrease the amount of sugar that you intake. Sugar causes inflammation, which compromises your immune system. From Nancy Appleton's work, who's a PhD, she has shown that too much sugar in your diet increases your risk of 37 different disease processes. So again, it's a moderation thing. A little bit of sugar is fine. Too much decreases wellness and compromises your immune system. The other thing when it comes to a healthy diet, it means a healthy gut, meaning your gastrointestinal tract. It's not healthy to have reflux, GERD, irritable bowel, Crohn's disease, etc. It's not healthy to have constipation, diarrhea. All of these things in medicine are now fixable. So centering on the gut is key. 70%, 70% of your immune system is in your gut. So if your gut's healthy, you are healthy. Also serotonin, the happy neurotransmitter, 90% is made in your gut. Your gut also makes biotin for your hair and nails. It also is very important for vitamin B12. So a healthy gut equals a healthy patient and a healthy immune system. Dehydration is a problem. If you stay dehydrated, then your immune system is compromised. When it comes to hydration, if you have normal kidney function and normal heart function, then most people need about 1/2 your body weight in ounces every day. You can translate that over to the metric system, etc. It's very important to have enough water. If you exercise, which you should, you need even more water. So water, there is no substitute. Coffee is fine, 1 to 2 cups of coffee a day. Tea is great. I happen to be a tea drinker, 1 to 2 cups. Too much hurts your immune system. So again, moderation is the key to health. There is no substitute for water. Exercise is important. That's the one I have a hard time with personally. I don't get the high that some of you on this webcast today get from exercise. I wish I did. I would love exercise more than I do. But I do exercise every day. And the reason I do is that exercise maintains memory. It's extremely important for the immune system as well. Also, when you exercise, if you exercise a lot, meaning 7 days a week, then your body does get depleted in nutrients. Having the right amount of nutrients is important. So if you exercise 6 or 7 days a week, that would be more aggressive exercise. Or if you're over the age of 50, your body gets depleted in the nutrients coenzyme Q10 and alpha lipoic, LIPOIC acid. Both of these nutrients coenzyme Q10, which you can just call Q10, and alpha lipoic acid are both important as energy producers in your body. In order to be healthy, stay well, have memory, vision, mobility, and a good immune system, you have to have nutrients. You cannot eat your way into coenzyme Q10 or lipoic acid. So general doses, if you have normal kidney and liver function, if you're a vigorous exerciser, lipoic acid and Q10, 300 to 400 milligrams a day. If you're over the age of 50, then your body gets deplete in these nutrients. That's the anti-aging approach. So if you're 50 years of age, you would need 100 milligrams a day of Q10. If you're 50 years of age, you would need 100 milligrams of lipoic acid as well a day. If your blood sugar is elevated, then 300 to 400 milligrams a day of lipoic acid helps lower blood sugar. In fact, you may even need less medication. One way the body also gets deplete in nutrients are medications. Things like statin drugs, beta blockers, which we use for blood pressure and to slow heart rate, glucophage, which is metformin, a medication to lower blood sugar, hydrochlorothiazide, that prescription that says HCTZ for high blood pressure. All of those medicines deplete the body of Q10. And in today's world, medicine is going to change. We are going to, when we write a prescription as practitioners, work with our patients for nutritional depletions, because every single medicine we prescribe causes at least 1 to 10 nutritional depletions. This will be a key component for the immune system as well. And then lastly, I think everybody understands that smoking compromises the immune system. So 7 tips today to help people stay healthy and to help build our immune system. The good news is the science is here to help people be healthy and stay healthy. And again, I'm so privileged to be able to be a woman in this world and be a leader in healthcare. I want to help other women to be leaders in healthcare and other different kinds of jobs as well. It is a diverse world today. It is time for all of us to take a seat at the table. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Pamela Smith. I think that was an amazing talk and very insightful for all of us. A quick question, someone has asked, what dosage of pronolone supplements should one take?
Well, it's really hard with supplements. To be a scientist, I like to measure and see what patients need. But every single patient at any age does need 3 things. 1, probiotics, good bacteria for that healthy gut. 2, a multivitamin, and omega-3 fatty acids everyone should take. And then you can work with your healthcare provider to see which ones, and also to look at the dosage you would need.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Pamela Smith, especially joining us from Florida. I'm sure everyone has really enjoyed hearing you today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will now like to introduce a very interesting topic called Health 4.0 and Predictive Biomarkers. This is a discussion between Dr. Shabnam Daskar and Dr. Namrata Bagaria, who will be telling us what is Health 4.0 and the concept of digital twins. What is it all about? Dr. Shabnam is a specialist in functional and metabolic medicine with multiple fellowships and degrees practicing in Canada and India. She is the co-founder of Metabolic Dietary Solutions Program and a guest faculty at Maryland University of Integrative Health, USA. Dr. Namrata is a physician with Masters in Public Health from Harvard, PhD candidate in Digital Transformation and Innovation in University of Ottawa. She runs an ingenious podcast on the topic Health 4.0. Over to you both, Dr. Shabnam and Dr. Namrata. Please unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Namrata and I'm in Ottawa, so it's morning here. And I've just been requesting, Manvi, if you can give me the screen share. I wanted to show my screen if possible. If not, then I'll just talk.
We'll just give you the screen share. Just a moment.
Hi, I'm Shabnam. I'm in Alberta, Canada, and it's a great honor to be here today. And thank you, Dr. M, and thank you, Preeti. And Dr. Smith, it's a really great honor because I'm an alumnus of the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. I'm very excited to be here today, and over to Namrata. So she will start and I will join in towards the end.
Okay. So hello, everyone. My name is Namrata and I go by Nam. And I'm very happy to be here, very honored, very grateful that I got the opportunity. A quick background about me. I'm a physician, a public health practitioner, an engineer, and a person who does business. So I wear different hats. And my research is interdisciplinary, which is I look at how can I innovate new solutions for healthcare using cutting edge technology, but make it useful and make businesses have those technologies available to provide services to people. So I'm going to talk about Health 4.0, and I'm going to take the beginning slot for you, and then Dr. Shabnam will follow this up. So hope you enjoy this, and let's begin. So I'm going to take you a few years in the future, and I call this Health 4.0 through digital twins. Now, there's a chance you may or may not have heard of these words, and I'm going to tell you as we go along. So my first question is, what is health? There is no one definition of health. If you look over the years from the early 1900s to the end of around 2000, there are different definitions. It started off with man as a machine or a body, and you have to fix this machine by fixing different parts, and that's how most of the modern medicine is still practiced. In the around early 80s, the WHO revised it to holistic well-being, wellness, like how a person can be healthy from the body and the mind. And still that definition is valid, but it's still very aspirational. In the 90s, we moved on to a wellness definition where you can acquire a certain set of skills. And then towards the late 90s, there was a more ecological definition. How can we live in harmony with other living beings? So there is no one definition of health, but what does exist is the different parameters for health and well-being. There are physical health parameters, there are lifestyle parameters, there are well-being and mental health parameters, which have been mentioned, and the socio-economic parameters, your income, your housing, your education, and also your contextual and cultural parameters. And guess what? COVID-19 has proved that none of the health systems today address this. No country in the world has this being addressed, nor at a population level, nor at an individual level. So, no healthcare system. And what is Health 4.0? Health 4.0 is integrating these technologies, integrating different technologies that exist to help capture these parameters. Now, I may sound all loosey-goosey, so I'm going to give you an example so it helps you, vision what I'm trying to say. So let's take the example of aging, and let me show you what I mean by Health 4.0 and aging. Now, what is healthy aging? And this is just a scenario, this is not comprehensive, but it is your mind and body. It's either in 100% sync, or maybe let's say 60-50% sync or no sync. So it's your mind, body, and your social network and culture. Because if you're in Canada, like I am right now, the culture is to be more independent living, but my home country is India, where the culture is to live more closely knit together. So what's your social network and culture, plus what's your housing and neighborhood? What are your health and life stresses? And what is the weather? And all that leads to something like healthy aging. And we can see this lady enjoying her time in the fall leaves. Okay, so this is the kind of scenario that I'm talking about, where all these parameters together make healthy aging. Now, no doctor today addresses all these issues. No health system addresses all these issues. And we've seen in COVID-19 that each of these issues makes a difference on your health. We are not just responsible for our own health, but other people's health too, through our behavior. So in such a scenario, what is Health 4.0 aging? Now, this is a bit engineering-ish diagram, but I'm going to tell you, if you have variables, like if you have smart watches, your phone GPS, the different cameras that you have in your house, All this together can help us create a sort of a digital copy of you, your social media, your bank accounts, your electronic health records. So imagine all these, and we call them data, or in engineering, you call them sensors. Imagine all these sensors in a secure manner over any, so I have secure manner, and now you know cloud. Imagine saving all of this and making a digital copy of you and running artificial intelligence, which can tell ahead in time that, you know what, Nam, if you continue eating like this, in five months from now, you're going to end up getting this deficiency. So predictive maintenance. And this digital twin technology is used currently in industry, in manufacturing. And we are the first lab in the world, and I'm the first woman scientist who's a doctor and doing this in this field. We have a lot of female engineers who've done this. So I'm happy to be a part of a very progressive lab. And what is multimodal interaction? Which means today you're looking at us through the video camera. You cannot touch me, but through the technologies which are discovered in the lab that I work in, we can touch, the doctors can touch the screen and the patient can feel the touch. And these are the kind of interactions and technologies that are available. And the idea is to dilute the boundaries. We don't need healthcare to stop at the level of clinics. We need healthcare to be with people. You are responsible for your health, and the boundaries have to be your homes and your offices. So this is my 5 minute of power-packed ranting. I hope you enjoyed. And now I'm going to give it to my partner in crime, Dr. Shabnam, who's going to talk about biomarkers, and I'm going to be navigating for her. So.
Thank you, Namrata. That was excellent. So Dr. Smith and I and other functional medicine doctors like us, we actually have the unique privilege, and that's the reason we're very proud and excited about healthcare today, of working in the field of disease prediction. So we start taking action way before you develop a disease. So what are predictive biomarkers? In simple terms, the cliched term, expression goes, prevention is better than cure. But the fact is, how will you prevent if you don't know what is going on? As Dr. Smith always says, you need to measure. So measure, don't guess. That is very important. So I'm going to just briefly talk about 2 biomarkers, and Dr. Smith has already mentioned the ones that I wanted to stress upon. Thank you, Dr. Smith. So next slide, Namrata. So this is, again, it looks very complex, and for want of a better term, I call this my constellation. So in the functional medicine, anti-aging world, if you come to us as a patient, these are all the different areas we look at. I will not have time to go into all of them. Dr. Smith has already mentioned food, and Dr. Smith mentioned medication. So drug-induced nutrient depletion is something we look at, and I can probably guarantee that none of you, if you haven't met a functional medicine doctor, have ever had that conversation about, metformin reducing your levels of CoQ10 or vitamin B12. And a lot of people in the audience today are from India. A lot of people in India are vegetarians. So vegetarians have a big problem with vitamin B12 deficiencies. Added to that, a lot of people in India have diabetes. So just to, some numbers in context, there are about 77 million people with diabetes in India. And in context, entire population of Canada is 37 million. So you can imagine, number one, many of them are vegetarians. Then you add a metformin to that. Then you add a statin medication. Those are the cholesterol lowering medications. So it's a great soup of nutrient depletions happening there. And so circadian rhythm, Dr. Smith has mentioned chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is related to 95% of diseases, whether you talk about mental health, whether you talk about heart disease, stroke, diabetes, whole lot of things. And another thing is a big area is hormones. And Dr. Smith is actually one of the world authority on hormones and hormone therapy. So metabolic dysfunction is big. My areas of focus are autoimmunity and metabolic dysfunction. Next slide, Namrata. So we have decided to keep some time for questions. Now fasting, just 2 predictive markers that I want to stress upon. Dr. Smith already mentioned sugar. So what is an optimal blood glucose level that you should look at? Now remember, I'm talking about optimal, not normal. So just being in the normal range is not enough for us in the functional medicine world. I'm sorry, there are some markings on my screen. Somebody doesn't like my fasting blood glucose level of 90 milligrams, I think. So these are so in Canada, they use millimoles. And I'm a physician in India, and I have a wellness company in Canada. I'm not a physician in Canada. However, one thing is, Namrata, still on the previous slide.
No,
So
I didn't do the working, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, the part on the right that you can't see is I wanted to imply that I'm not just talking in a vacuum. There are a lot of scientific studies supporting all this. And the interesting thing is, out of those 4 papers, some of them have been done in much younger people. So if you are interested in a healthy aging, and as Dr. Smith says, mobility, vision, memory, so Alzheimer's, and I'm sure everyone in this group is concerned about Alzheimer's and dementia. Alzheimer's is considered to be type 3 diabetes, so it is diabetes of the brain. And having higher than normal blood sugar levels, and I'm not even talking about diabetes here, having higher than normal blood glucose levels places you at a much higher risk for Alzheimer's. And it's not just Alzheimer's, it's also for a whole bunch of other diseases. And another thing is, because there are a lot of South Asians in this group, a lot of people from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, we kind of, in India, it's kind of going to become the diabetes capital of the world, and it's going to be the heart disease capital of the world. Probably the fasting blood glucose numbers that we need are not even 90. It is very likely 80 to 85. And again, we don't have a lot of studies right now, but my point is, just because you are in the normal range, don't be happy with that. And so Namrata, the next slide.
Yeah, and I'm not responsible for these wonderful drawings.
I don't know who it is. Anyway, Dr. Smith has already mentioned sleep, and I call myself a sleep evangelist or a sleep police. So sleep, as Dr. Smith mentioned, is like, if you do not sleep well, it is devastating for your immune system. It's killing your immune system. Now with sleep, there are 2 kinds of problems. One is, which is more common probably, is people who do not prioritize sleep. I know a lot of people in the audience today who don't. But the second problem is a group of people like me who have a problem staying asleep or falling asleep. That is a different problem altogether. But the fact is, the other problem, the one of not prioritizing sleep. I mean, if Mother Nature has designed our body in such a way that we spend 8 hours of our 1/3 of our life doing something, obviously it has a huge impact. And one of the things we found out recently is your brain's detoxification system. Again, one big sciencey word. I will write the word on the chat box, the glymphatic system, GLMYPHATIC. The glymphatic system is the system that works as a detoxification of the brain that functions only when you're sleeping. So studies have shown that if you sleep less than 6 hours, and again, more than 8 hours is not that great either. So less than 6 hours of sleep, even in your middle age, is related to a much higher risk of dementia. Okay, I realize that my time is over. So basically, yes, Namrata, the next slide. Please feel free to type your questions in the chat box, and I will have Manvi take care of them. If required, I will do a separate, webinar recording maybe for your questions. So Namrata, just the slide before, what I talk about is an acronym called SEM, Sleep, Eat, Move, and Mind, Body. Dr. Smith has already talked about exercise, but I just want to talk about the continuous sitting that many of us have started doing these days, the sitting disease. So right now I'm using a laptop stand to stand so that I don't sit as much as I normally do. That is one thing I want to focus on. Exercise is extremely important, but continuous sitting. So are you getting your steps? Mind, body, we already talked about. Eating in shortened intervals of time. So that's all for now. And
Thank you, Dr. Shabnam. and Dr. Namrata. That was really overwhelming and very intriguing. Since we're running out of time, I'll not take any question right now. I'll move on to Ms. Anu Acharya. So next up is genomics, which I think for a long time, it's being regarded as an elixir for human longevity. Genomic engineers and stem cell researchers have said that children being born now are going to live up to 1,000 years and death may be optional by 2048. Today we have Ms. Anu Acharya. Anu is the co-founder and CEO of Map My Genome, a company that pioneered the field of personal genomics for healthcare in India, and she also serves on the governing body and as a mentor for various high-profile institutions. Over to you, Anu. Genomics. She'll speak on genomics in the new age of novel disease. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, Preeti. Thanks so much for the kind introduction. I thought that, given that it's a 5 to 5 minute talk, I thought I will quickly talk about a little bit of the things that are going to, where we are using genomics in the case of the coronavirus, for instance. So maybe if I can share my screen a little bit, we can be able to give a very quick introduction to that. So I think one of the good things that has come out of COVID is that most people, I think, have started to understand what RT-PCR is, what DNA is, and a lot of things that I had a hard time trying to explain to people what it all means. So I think that's one really good thing about it. And I thought maybe there are multiple areas that we find that you can use genomics for. And one is to actually understand how the virus actually works. The second is that you can also start to use genomics to sort of understand how the different forms of testing are working. And the third is that how do you use genomics for prevention? When we created a product called Genomepatri Immunity to start to understand your own response to certain, to this particular virus. And then what is the value of sequencing and the value in making drugs, right? So you can start using genomics for multiple things, both in terms of how do you make better drugs for these particular new viruses, and also in terms of how do you make vaccines. Obviously, in 5 minutes, I won't be able to cover all of this. So I thought very quickly, one of the things we've started to understand is that we understood, because of the fact that the genome was very quickly sequenced, we were able to actually do a lot of genomic studies. We were able to understand a little bit of how the virus actually functions and how it actually enters into our body, which was in the ACE2 receptors. And I think with that came the understanding of not just looking at it as trying to understand what clinical doctors were trying to find across the globe, but trying to understand how these were actually affecting our body, both in the entire body itself. And the ACE2 receptors was what they were coming in from, right? But we've also started to find that it's not just a respiratory disease, but it might also start to be part of our endothelial system or the whole endocrine gland system, possibly, right? While we are still understanding a lot of the science over here, I think genomics has really been able to help us to start to understand a lot of what is there. So there are, like most of you would have already seen, especially if you've had somebody or the other who has been affected, that you're starting to find that there are many forms of testing that exist. The one is to actually look for the antigen, which is the actual virus, right? So you can actually find, some of them could be just based on finding the RNA of the virus. So you would do like the RT-PCR, where you can actually find if there's an active infection. The other way is to find out if there is that protein or that antigen that you can find in that particular, over there of that particular virus. And the other form of testing is that of the antibody testing, where you're trying to find if there was a past infection, or even possibly if you're testing between 7 to 8 days to a little bit later, you might find if there are certain types of antibodies, whether it's IgM or IgG. So I won't go into details of this, but basically implications is that you can actually start to isolate and trace and be able to contain the disease a little bit better. I want to spend a couple of minutes on prevention. So one of the things that we've been doing for many, many years is that we've been able to look at a lot of the large genomic studies and be able to help people with understanding their own selves by looking at different markers that they have and telling them how these markers are going to be helpful in multiple different disease conditions. So one of the first things that we did when COVID was first introduced was to look at those kind of conditions that would actually help us understand this disease better and how we respond to this disease even better. So we looked at certain kinds of things. One was to look at the previous coronavirus, which was the SARS-CoV susceptibility. And there have been large-scale studies done on that. We looked at things that cause the cytokine storm, where your own body goes into a hyperdrive and starts to attack your own body. And we looked at things like your comorbidities or other nutrients. And I think a lot of the speakers before spoke about a lot of things before this. So you understand that a lot of the factors that contribute to this disease are mostly about your own immune system and how you react to that. So what this does is to actually help people understand if there are genetic variants, that they will be able to help them to guide in terms of how do you actually make certain changes in your diet and lifestyle. So this is what we are trying to look at, and I'm not going through any of the details of this thing, but we're looking at certain kinds of, I mentioned earlier that there was the ACE2 receptor from which it enters. So that's one of the genes that is important. And there are also other markers that we have found that contribute to whether it was the cytokine storm. And clearly, I think there are many conditions you will have seen that people who are, have comorbid conditions like diabetes or hypertension and others are more likely to be at risk. So we also look at the risk for these conditions and help people understand by putting together all these multiple factors, whether it's their lifestyle, whether it's their genetics and others, to be able to help them through that process. So these are the kind of things we are looking at, whether it's cardiovascular, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and other compromised immune systems, whether it's autoimmune conditions, asthma, and a few other things. And similarly, I think when you look at drugs, and I'm not going to go through any of these, I think it will help people when you look at certain drugs that are being currently used. We saw that there are certain things like chloroquine, HCQ, there are the antivirals and all of that. You can start to look at the pharmacogenomics of each of these drugs and see how they're going to respond for you specifically. And even though these are not specifically meant for COVID, at least it helps you in understanding that if you were given that, whether you're going to be adversely affected to it or not. And similarly, I think many people would have told you that you need to take your vitamins, you need to have the vitamin C, D and all. I think it is looking at it from a genetic point of view, you can start to understand if there are certain areas that you might need to actually take a little bit more precaution than otherwise. And I think these are the ones that we're looking at, whether it's zinc, C, D, and so on. Now, what does sequencing actually help you with? And I think for all of us, we understood that when the virus first came in China, the first thing they did was to be able to actually sequence a whole genome. And that helped us in not just creating these RT-PCR tests, but it also helped in understanding the behavior of the virus and to be able to find the right kind of drug targets for it. And I think that's one of the main things that have happened, that you can look at the origin and mutation, how it's actually mutating over a period of time. You can start to find new drug targets, you can find new vaccines, and you can also look like what I mentioned about in terms of prevention, for looking at it from a GWAS studies, but also look and see if there are certain things that you find that, in many parts of the world, there are people who are marathon runners who are extraordinarily healthy, but they also succumb to COVID in many situations. So I think it's also helps you in understanding a little bit of that as well. So with that, I think there are obviously many ways that you can look at the genomics and how you find new drug targets. When you look at all the 29 proteins that are there in the virus, and there are only 4 structural proteins and many others that are there. So that helps you in understanding how to actually create these specific drug targets for that, right? And similarly, while there are many different forms of creating viruses, I think we're starting to see that there are many new ways that you could actually use genomics to start to find new form of vaccines. And more specifically, example, for instance, the one that we hear about a lot is an mRNA virus, where you're actually inserting a particular mRNA strand, which will actually code for that disease, so it will produce the antibody response. So as you can find that there are many different ways of looking at genomics, and I've just given you a snapshot over here. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anuradha. I think that was really interesting and very informative. We'll quickly go on to our next speaker, Minnie Jain, who is the director of the Flow Partnership, a trustee of the Agroforestry Research Trust, and an editor of the Holistic Science Journal, and a board member of the Burkana Institute. Her work she's from United Kingdom, and her work in water conservation sustainability has had instrumental effect on the lives of various communities. She will be speaking on reviving the earth for a better life and how taking care of the environment is perhaps the first step to wellness. I think when it comes to environment and sustainable living, most leadership comes from women, which just goes to show how connected the feminine is to the whole ecosystem that we inhabit. Thank you. Over to Minnie. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Preeti. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Right. Okay. So just one word there. I live in the UK, but my birth home is India, and so a lot of the work that we do is in India and of course other parts of the world. So I'll start by saying that I run an NGO, and I'll take you guys from what we've been hearing from all the other speakers about self after ourselves to how we look after the earth, which is what sustains us. So a lot of my work is dealing with communities and people organizations and people who are dealing with floods, droughts, and where lack of water, the kind of problems it creates. And of course, if you look at self-wellness as well, without water, our bodies can't function. So before that, there has to be water in the earth for it to reach us. And so a lot of my work is to do with communities to bring back a healthy cycle so there are fewer floods and fewer droughts. We started our work in India with a very wonderful colleague called Rajendra, who many of you might know is also called the Waterman of India. And what I thought I'd do today is give you two stories, one from India and one from Europe, where I now live in the it's a country called Slovakia. And I'll give you these stories about the women that I have met in this work. When there is a water problem, usually it's the women who bear the brunt of the problem. And then if you have to look at resolving it, often the leadership comes from the women. They have to take the lead because they are suffering a lot more. Of course, at this point, I will say that it is beyond gender. It isn't just women, it is women and men together. And if we do it collaboratively, you can achieve results. So the first story that I'm going to tell you about 30 years ago, my colleague Rajendra and his colleague Chaman Singh ji went to this place, very, very dry area called Karoli in Rajasthan. And the area of Karoli that they went to was just on the other side of Chambal. Now, those of you in India know Chambal was very famous for bandits, and there was a lot of thuggery, robbers, looting, etc. So it was just on the other side of the Chambal Ghati, and it was very, very dry. And so the story that they told me is that they met this couple, and the lady recounted that when she was married and she came to the area, she didn't even have a pair of new clothes, and her husband was so poor. And often he would pick up the gun and he would be gone for weeks on end. And during one of those absences of the husband, my colleague and his team landed over there, and they said, look, your area is so dry, why don't you look at bringing the water back in your area and making it healthy, and grow your food, so you will be, your this whole cycle of poverty that you're in, that will your earth will become healthy and you will be healthy and you'll have food to eat. To cut a long story short, she took in the work, and when the husband came back a few weeks or months later, she handed him a pair of new clothes, a set of new clothes, and she said, when I got married, you didn't need a set of new clothes, and now with the hard work that we've done in agriculture and creating this whole healthy neighborhood of ours, I've been able to make and not only just ends meet, but I've been able to sell the produce and have a healthy life. And from that money, I've been able to buy you a pair of new clothes. So this could have gone two ways after that. The husband could have got really angry with the wife. Why did you step out of the house without my permission? Instead, the husband calmly took his gun, hung it on the wall, and became a farmer forevermore. And that's what happened in the rest of the village. So to me, this was such a classic example of when the need was there, the woman stepped forward, took the leadership, changed what needed to be changed, and the men joined in. So it was actually together that they did this work and made their life healthier. The second story I'll quickly tell you is in a country called Slovakia, which was under communist rule for many, many years. And in the 1950s, they had a plan for a $200 million dam and over a river to solve the flooding issues over there. What that dam would have done was submerged a whole load of villages and made people homeless. They would have, when people are homeless and they have to migrate to other areas, it's a completely different life. How can you be healthy over there? So my colleague, Mr. Mikhail Kravchik, who's a hydrologist and has similar feeling of working with communities and empowering grassroots community leadership, landed over there. And very interestingly, the mayor of that region was a young woman, 29 years old, one of the youngest mayors of the country and one of the very few women in politics, called Lubica Zugnova. She joined hands with him. And then, to cut a long story short, they had the community on board, got the community talking, discussing what can be done, and they built a succession of small dams, which the community did, to small wooden dams, and I'll show you a picture in a second, which then solved the problem by holding the water upstream and solved the problem of flooding in the larger river. So the community remained healthy, and the community was full, they led healthy lives in their own region. Maybe I'll show you some of the pictures, and I can end with with what other women are. Manvi, could you share the screen for me, please? Yes. Yeah. So this slide is of the young mayor. This is the late 90s, and I've met her. She's a most amazing woman. She's still one of the few women in politics over there. And they stopped flooding in 800 villages. And to me, the kind of way she used the power that was given to her externally to create good and to create health and well-being in her neighborhood and successively is the kind of leadership that really moves almost rivers and mountains. So how does it go? Yes, in this slide you can see those little dams, the wooden dams that they built across the forest, and it was with these kind of little dams that they stopped the flooding. And this kind of work goes on across the world. This is from my colleague Rajendra's work. This is in Rajasthan, and that they were working in. This was not a road, this was a river. I always hear a voice when he says this was not a road. This is how ill the earth was. And then when they worked with the women, similar to the story that I told you, the same spot, and this is what they became. So you can see how our health depends on the health of the planet. And the health of the planet depends on how well we manage the water. If it's arid like this, it's not healthy. If there is enough water, you have plenty of food to grow, you have healthy food to grow, and you have leisure time to do various other things. This is also a recent project we did in that area where I said was abandoned. And this is his own picture of the area, how dry it was. And then this was 3 months later after the monsoon, how water, when it came, it became completely. I'll just go through. These two women are particularly inspiring for me. The lady on your right is one of UK's well-known engineers. She's the chairperson of a very large organization, global organization, 16,000 people, a lot of them men. And here she's meeting the woman of the community who did the work just previously. And this particular slide was just such a photograph that moved me, thinking that these are two women completely from different kinds of backgrounds, different kinds of levels.
Thank you so much, Millie. We'll have to close this. Actually, we're running out of time.
Fine. That's it. And I thought I'd end with this wonderful picture of the Finnish government, all women. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You've been doing such amazing work. Thank you. I would now like to invite Mr. Suresh Srivastava, the Secretary General of Pune, to say a few words. Mr. Suresh Srivastava, please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
No, your voice is not clear. Your voice is not clear.
Why is it not clear? Just a minute. Why is it not clear?
So what we'll do is that your voice is not coming clear. So can I request then in the meantime, I'll just request our special guest for today, Madam Mridula Sinha ji. She's the first woman governor of Goa and a renowned Hindi writer with 46 books to her credit. She has truly broken the glass ceiling in Indian politics and needs no introduction. We would love to hear her thoughts on women pioneering global change. Madam Mridula Sinha ji, can you please unmute yourself and speak?
Yes, thank you. There are 10 people, 3 men and 7 women, and all are going to give a speech. So I am very happy that Suresh Srivastava ji have invited me to meet all of you. From very beginning, I have been studying the growth, the achievements of women. I come from a village. I have seen the village women, and I have studied their behavior, their change. All women bring some changes in her work. I have seen. I always say that I have seen very closely 5 women in my life. My grandmother, my mother, myself, my daughter, and daughter of my daughter. And I always compare the differences between 5. The differences is from outside. I see that their dress, their hair cutting, the appearance, these are differ from one another. But inside the heart, inside the body, they are same, because the Creator has given some qualities. Because they have to, the sea is also Creator. Women have to give birth to child and take care of the child. So there are special qualities in women. I always say that women and men are not equal. Papa?
I think we've lost Mridul Sinha ji. You're on mute. I think by mistake you've put yourself on mute. Can you unmute yourself? Madam, can you unmute yourself?
आ रही है आवाज?
हाँ हाँ अब आ रही है अब आ रही है।
अच्छा तो अब जो बोल चुके उसको ये समझ जाइए कि हम नहीं बोले, कोई बात नहीं। तो this webinar is being organized by GCF for women and with women leaders. So I am very happy to be with you. I have heard all the speakers and I have learned something from your speeches. I am very happy that Dr. M. Modi has spoken, and he has sung the songs of the women achievements. I always say that any seminar, this is webinar, the webinar is going to study the development of women or the capacity of women or the problem of women, the webinar must have 33% of male members also. And in this webinar, I am seeing that 3 men and 7 women are there. So I am very happy because
Madam, there were about 200 participants. So totally there are about 200 participants, and 1/3 are men.
I know that also. We all know that men and women both have been bringing change in the society from very beginning of civilization. Change is the process of development. Development of science and the contributions of scientific experiments have brought change in the life pattern of men and women both. Since the advent of 21st century, the change in the life of women is visible. The change in the life. This is because of the forward-looking women leaders also. Formerly, now we see that Indian women have also crossed the bindings and have reached a very sphere of life. In last decade, few women also touched its highest point of progress in some areas of life. But now we see that not a single field has been left when society cannot see the prints of women's feet. They have not only entered the field like politics, defense, science, health, sports, but they are doing very well everywhere. Even men of the country, especially Prime Minister for India, always appreciate the development and achievements of women. And I see that in villages also, the women are going ahead and they are bringing change in the village life also. The webinar is expanding women leadership in new domains, giving a special focus on their achievements, developments, and their vision for the new decade. Most of the countries are recognizing the role and achievements of women. This is very good. Because the people are recognizing the role of women in every field. They have started imparting best education to girl child to improve their work from house to top services of the country. The world has become very small due to the practice of internet and web. Women have contributed a lot in this field also. Corona-19 has changed the lifestyle of men and women, home, office, and everywhere. I take this corona as boon in disguise. This is changing not our only habits and working pattern in house, but the economic activities will also change. Prime Minister of India has started giving stress on self-reliance. India women are going to take up the challenge. They will take lead to fulfill the bill of PM, Prime Minister. Next slogan, be vocal about local. I hope, while take very honestly and seriously the slogan given by Prime Minister, the participation of women will supersede men. There will not be competition between men and women, but they will work together to make India self-reliant. India's oldest slogan is Yatra Naryastu Pujyante Ramante Tatra Devata. Even today, the society lives this slogan. So it can be said that when women will be bringing vital change in life pattern of society, they will definitely get full cooperation of men from house to workplace. Society will observe all the positive changes brought by women. I used to say, young women of India, come up. You can go everywhere you want, whether it is earth, sea, or space, to bring positive change. All will help you. Now in India, the parents, teachers, and government departments all are set to help and assist women, but they have to proceed and choose their path. I am hopeful that the outcome of the webinar organized by the India Federation of United Nations Association and the Global Citizen Forum will show a right path for the development of women, not only of India, but the world at large. At end, I giving thanks to all of Preeti and Suresh Srivastavji and every speakers. I would like to say that in India, the motherhood is worshipped. And I always said women that you go everywhere, but you will have to become mother. So now also I say every young woman that you go everywhere, you work with men, but your motherhood you should preserve because it is your duty. You give the society a good child, a better child. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Madam Mridula ji. That was so inspiring. And thank you so much for taking out time and being with us today and addressing us all. Thank you. I'll now request again Mr. Suresh Srivastava to please unmute himself and speak. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, please, thank you. Excellency Mridula Sinha ji, former Governor of Goa, Honorable Dr. B.K. Modi, fondly called Dr. M, Ms. Preeti Malhotra, co-host and founder director, Global Citizen Forum, and Chairman, Smart Bharat. Distinguished speakers, Ms. Christine, Ms. Suzanne Stolberg, Dr. Pamela Singh, Dr. Shabnam Dikar, Ms. Anu Acharya, Ms. Namrata Bagaria, and Ms. Mini Jain. I wholeheartedly welcome you all on behalf of Indian Federation of United Nations Association. The present webinar has come because of the initiative of Dr. B.K. Modi on the topic Global Women Spreading Change. Dr. M is a great philanthropist, social engineer, and a great entrepreneur, and at the same time, a great humanist. Indian Federation of United Association is an organization which supports people at the people's level. As the Charter of the United Nations starts with the word, we, the people of the United Nations. But in practice, it is the governments who are the members of the United Nations. So to make United Nations as the people's movement, at that very time when the United Nations was formed, an organization was formed by the name World Federation of UN Association at Luxembourg. And we represent India in that world body, and we are basically advocating the ideals of the United Nations in India. But at the same time, I really feel sorry that the United Nations has already passed 75 years. It is 75-year-old. But till this date, United Nations has not been able to find a one single woman who could adore the office of the Secretary General of United Nations. This has to be changed. This mindset has to be changed even in the United Nations. But I would like to tell you that IFUNA, our organization, and India, of course, the first woman president of the United General Assembly was from India, that is Mrs. Vijay Lakshmi Pandit. And she was also our first president of IFUNA. So we have always been working in tandem with the United Nations. We have heard Mridula Sinha ji. She is a prolific writer. She has written many books, and she is a politician also, all combined. I'm very grateful to her that she has agreed to come and to attend this seminar. In India, I must say that India's role in women emancipation is far greater than many other countries. In the year 1966, when many countries were not able to give voting right to the women, I say in the year 1966, India was fortunate to have first woman prime minister, that is Mrs. Indira Gandhi. She became prime minister in the year 1966 when many countries were not able to give voting right to women. Similarly, I would like to also give thanks to the Indian scientists of ISRO. I would like to take their name, Miss Ritu Karidhal, Miss Nandini Harinath, Miss Anuradha TK, Miss Monumita Datta, Miss Mihal Rohit, and N. Valmapari, and Miss Tessie Thomas surprised the whole world. How you will say that these women of ISRO surprised the whole world? They were part of a project MOM. I don't know whether you have heard that project of ISRO MOM. Mission over. You are not able to hear me.
We can, sir. We can hear you.
You can't hear me.
Sir, we can hear you.
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what I'm saying that the project of MOM, that is Mission Over Moon, was initiated by India, and these women have made a great contribution in that successful mission. So they brought a laurel to the country, these 7 scientist women of ISRO. I mean, this is a very credible on the part of the Indian women that they have successfully achieved it. And as far as now today India is concerned, in India the women have excelled in all fields. They are IFS officers. They are the pilots in the Indian Air Force. They are commercial pilots. They are CEO. The list is so big that women are now heading all the big institute of India. I mean in India, and still much has to be done. As you might be knowing that recently Supreme Court has given a very landmark judgment. Earlier, the naval women were not allowed to be a commissioned officer, but Supreme Court has recently given a very good judgment wherein they said that the women, there cannot be 101 excuse not to debar a woman to become a commissioned officer. So much still has to be done in this field of administration of the women. And of course, we know the role of the women all over the world. They have brought a fantastic change, wonderful change all over the world. Even the recent example of Prime Minister of New Zealand, Ms. Jacinda Ardern, New Zealand is the first country which has been able to kick out COVID-19 from their country. So that way we have the women have given a big contribution. I would like to go with one small story. Dr. Modi has just said the world is going to be changed. Yes, the world is going to be changed. I will not like to name the country. There is one country in the world which does not allow a woman to do the business. And if she has to do the business, she has to take the permission from her father. Or if she is married, then she has to take permission from her husband. That thing has now changed. Now they have allowed to allow the women to do business. Why? Because the oil market is shrinking, and they have realized it is not because of they become liberal. It is because they realize that with the change scenario of the world, the oil market is shrinking, and they have started allowing the women to do business independently. So that way we know that the women have given a great contribution in this world, and I must say that this world is made a beautiful place to live in by the women, and without them, this world would not have been in existence. And with this, again, I welcome you all and thank you. And I'm sure that this webinar will enlighten us all, because we have had the opportunity of hearing all the healthcare experts. And again, I would like to thank Ms. Preeti Malhotra and Dr. B.K. Modi for organizing this wonderful webinar. And this has further enlightened many of us, and we would like to share this knowledge with many other more people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Srivastava ji, and thank IFUNA for joining hands with us. Friends, I think this has been a very enriching session. Again, a very big thank you to all our guest speakers, participants, and friends from across the globe who have participated in large numbers today. I hope each of us will continue to inspire and support each other in our journey to the event in the United Nations in 2022. These are pathways to the UN, and we would definitely like all of you to join this movement. We will share a link for those who would like to participate. And now I hand over to Kristen Envik, who is the founder of WIN and the CEO of GCF WIN Beyond Gender Initiative, for her closing remarks. Thank you once again, and I'll request Kristen to take over.
Okay. Thank you, Preeti. So, and thank you, Dr. M, and thank you, Mr. Suresh, and for all of you wonderful speakers that have been shared your wisdom, your knowledge, and everything here today. And last but not least, thank you to all the participants who have been so actively listening and reflecting and writing in the notes here. I think it's been such an interesting session, and what we are seeing, we're sitting here in the middle of something that's really a hot topic and is happening in the world right now. Women are taking leading roles in so many different industries, in wellness, in digital, and in all over in politics, as we see as well. And also what's emerging is also there are some men who are taking a leading role too, and wishing a world where we all have the same possibilities to create a future together. One of the things that also came up here today is how everything is so interconnected, and we have learned that also through COVID. So we talked today about the health of us as individuals and our immune system, and there were so many things we looked at that were super interesting, and I'm grateful for all the takeaways. We also talked about the health of our communities and the health of our planet, so on how all of this is interconnected. And I think we have a bright future ahead of us, as many women have that awareness of community and planet as well. So I'm also looking forward to seeing many of you in future webinars, and last but not least, as we're building a pathway to the UN in 2022. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Namaskar. And we hope to see you again soon. We'll send the details for our next webinar, which is happening on next Friday. Thank you.
Thank you.